Welcome into Just 5 minutes for me to share thoughts on whether it's one thing or a lot of things. We're going to try to get to several here. Let me start with Michael Brennan. Michael Brennan won this past week on the PGA Tour, and he is an example of several things. Let's start with the system itself. When PGA Tour U was created, I was all for it. And it was not because it was an immediate reaction to LIV. PGA Tour U was created well in advance of the creation of LIV Golf and the idea we got to do something to protect potential future assets. No. It came along before then. And I was a believer and an advocate of most pathways, meaning not just the PGA Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour, and in the case of Michael Brennan, PGA Tour Americas. And you're going, I don't know what that is. That's not particularly important, but it wasn't even the Korn Ferry Tour, but it gave him a place to play. And what he did was prove the point that is proven again and again. You don't hide talent. Talent may have to take a different path. Some, like a Jordan Spieth in 2013, had no status anywhere after 1 year at the University of Texas. And because he was well represented and because he'd already finished in the top 20 in a PGA Tour event when he was 16, he kind of had a profile. So he got some sponsor exemptions. And by the middle of the summer, at the age of 19, he had won on the PGA Tour. You don't hide talent. So Michael Brennan had to go by way of PGA Tour Americas. And he won again, and he won again. And twice this week, I heard two former members of the PGA Tour who were winners, Johnson Wagner and John Cook, say the exact same thing about Michael Brennan. Winning is winning. That's the thing. Show me somebody who doesn't just hit it forever. Show me somebody who gets into a position to win and wins, and also tell me that they make everything and they're likely winning. Now let me get to the next item. There are reports this week that Bryson DeChambeau is going to sign a new contract with LIV Golf, and you're going, wait a second, I didn't even know his contract was up. It's not. Bryson's where he should be. There's no doubt there is no player who either stayed or left who has benefited more by the decision that they made than Bryson DeChambeau. I don't want to say that when he left the PGA Tour, he was a pariah. No, he wasn't. Was he somewhat of an outcast with the kind of the in group? Maybe. But I think that he was in a peculiar place because he wasn't exactly comfortable with being who it is that he wants to be. He wants to be a showman, and that may rub people the wrong way. And I would say to all those people, get over it. Focus on yourself and don't worry about him. But Bryson DeChambeau, it appears, is getting ready to re-up with LIV. There is nobody who has more leverage when it comes to LIV than Bryson DeChambeau. The more interesting thing is, does Bryson DeChambeau, as a LIV player for the foreseeable future, have a pathway, and does it even care whether he has a pathway or not? Because here's the truth about him. For everyone saying, you know what, it's going to really erode their ability to contend and potentially win major championships by playing these 54-hole shotgun start no-cut events. Really? He's won an additional U.S. Open. He is now contended at the Masters, finishing second. He actually contended, and you can talk about conditions all you want at the Open Championship. The bottom line is, since Bryson DeChambeau left for LIV, he has played 10 major championships. He finished in the top 10 in 7 of them. A win, 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, a sixth, a seventh, an eighth, and a 10th. He can play wherever he wants and show up in majors and possibly win. So that is something that's most important. And then finally, let me get to the last thing about college golf, because John Cook said it. I'm not saying that they're not all really, really good, but I would contend that the best player today, he ain't necessarily better than the best player 25 years ago or 50 years ago, because you know who the best player was 30 years ago? Tiger. Don't trot anybody out here to me playing college golf today and say, that guy's better than him, because he ain't, he wasn't, and he likely won't be. That is your Just 5 for this week. And to the kids, go get all that candy and one wolf it all down and tell your parents to go, you know what?